I don't know how much longer this can really go on. You think about just the way families used to live, the way of, the path, the hero's journey that people would go on once they finished school. How crazy of a decline have we seen in the last, well, I would say 10 years, but you can argue even the last 2 decades, maybe even more than that. It was pretty common for people to leave their home at like 18 as soon as they're done high school, and then eventually it turned into college. But even then, you'd go to college, right? You'd leave your residence and you go to maybe another city or town to go to college. So you get a head start on your life, and you get an experience of what it's like to kind of live on your own for a bit before you get a job that pays you enough money to actually sustain yourself and live by yourself without roommates, where you feels like every major city now in the West, if you're living in any city, it doesn't even matter if it's like a super extravagant city, it feels like you need roommates unless you're making a ridiculously good salary. And even good salaries aren't really cutting it anymore, let's be honest. I'm making this video because I was just thinking about a lot of my friends back home in Toronto. Now, Toronto obviously is a more expensive city than Calgary, where I am right now. But it still shouldn't mean that all my friends and people I know are living at home with their parents. I was just thinking about some of my contacts. I was looking at my phone. I was just checking social media. And I was wondering how people are doing. And so I was just texting some people, kind of seeing what's going on with their life, where they're at, how they're doing. The amount of people I know who are around my age, who are living at home still with their parents in their mid to late 30s is shocking. At this point, previous generations, Gen X even, boomers for sure, before that, absolutely, would have families and own homes by then. I'm not saying all of them don't do this. There is a few that at least own property, who maybe have started a family, but honestly, a lot of them are living at home with their parents. And I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but I'm saying this is more of a reflection of how bad the economy is and just how bad the state of the world is, that people can't really get that step needed to start their life, to really start to build a foundation for their life, that they feel trapped. It's like that movie, that movie with Matthew McConaughey. What is it called? I literally just brought it up in my head, and now the name kind of just vanished. I think it was Something Started. I can't remember the name of it right now. I'll probably put it up here. I'll have like the movie poster. Oh, Failure to Launch. I think that's the name. Failure to Launch. That is pretty much almost all of my friends now. Now they show it in the movie as if it's kind of a good thing, almost like endearing, but no woman's going to want to date a lot of guys are living home with their parents. Let's be honest. That's one of the main reasons why people want to move out. That's one of the motivations guys have to move out, is that they can actually date properly and not be like, shh, my mom's home, my parents are upstairs. So they can actually, have a real intimate, private kind of date at home. People don't even have that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think also sex is on the decline as well with younger generations, because they're at home with their parents, It kind of makes it difficult to start any sort of relationship or start your life in general. I was going through my phone, and I swear to God, about 80% of the people that I know back in Toronto, friends and acquaintances, still live at home with their parents. And we're talking like 34 to like 39 years old. This is an epidemic. This is a full-blown crisis. And if this doesn't get addressed soon, I mean, what's the plan here, right? What's the plan? Does everyone just have to just save enough money that they can maybe just leave the country completely? And that this goes for Canada especially, maybe even the United States, but especially Canada. What do they do at this point? Because if saving doesn't cut it, you feel like all you're doing is working to save like the peanuts that you have that you can set aside to maybe give you some hope. You can't really do much with that money though. Back in the day, you could just leave your money in the bank and you get pretty substantial interests. You know, you could put it in the stock market and you could get dividends. I'm not saying the stock market's not an option. You could definitely do that still, but at the end of the day, it's still kind of like gambling. That's why saving was so much better, so much more lucrative, and just more of an honest way to, you know, save and earn money was just through, you know, you save your money, you get a decent amount of interest on that money, and then, you know, everything was relatively inexpensive compared to now, at least the things that you need the most to live, which is housing and food. Now housing and food are incredibly expensive, and the stuff that is more was also seen as like luxury goods back in the day, mostly because things were also made in like the USA, Canada, and a lot of countries of origin. The quality was better, and also on top of that, it costed a bit more because the people who were making it, you know, they needed to live their lives in these countries. Now they're all being made overseas for the most part, and because of that, they're being made for peanuts. And that's why a lot of cheap stuff that you can find like on Temu and AliExpress and stuff like that, these are all just like luxury goods. And when I say luxury, these are things you don't really need. They're not necessities. But those are cheap. But the things you actually need are expensive. That's why people are living at home. Yeah, sure, they could buy all the crap they don't really need. I mean, I'm one to talk, to be honest. I love toys, but a lot of the stuff I got way cheaper than what you're seeing in the background. You'd expect me to be spending market price on a lot of stuff, but I don't. You know, I'm pretty thrifty. I've saved stuff throughout my childhood. I try to be, you know, as frugal as I can be. But it really just goes to show like the state of the world right now when people are in their mid-30s, late 30s, and even in their 40s in some rare situations, and I don't even think it's that rare anymore, where they're living at home with their parents. I have a brother back in Toronto. I have two brothers in Toronto. One's older and they're living on their own. Thank God. They don't own their own place though, but they're living on their own. And then I have another brother who lives at home with his parents still. But it's becoming all too common now today. So I don't know. I just thought this was an interesting topic to discuss. And I'm sure you guys have your own thoughts and opinions about this as well that you guys could probably share down below in the comment section. Maybe you are in this boat. You know, maybe you are someone in your mid to late 30s who also lives at home with their parents. If so, I want your opinions about it down below in the comment section. I want to know why you think that this feels like it's the shift as where society is kind of leading us to. And will this ever change? Or do you think this is just kind of set in stone now, which is kind of scary? Leave your thoughts about it down below in the comment section, guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.